Hello, I'm Voltaire Tupas. Welcome to Rappler Talk. A few days ago, a movement against tyranny was formed in the Philippines. Human rights issues in the Philippines, which are being raised by activists and human rights advocates, have really caught the attention of the international community. And joining us today is a human rights advocate and defender. She is the Director of International Affairs and former chairperson of the Democratic Party of Hong Kong and a former member of the Hong Kong Legislative Council, Ms. Emily Lau. Welcome to Rappler Talk and welcome to the Philippines.
Yes, thank you very much.
We're going to talk about a broad range of human rights issues. Let's start with the plight of the overseas Filipino workers in Hong Kong, where you used to be a legislator, a member of the Legislative Council. How are you addressing the rights issues?
Well, first of all, I think there are close to 200,000
almost 200,000
Filipinos working there as domestic workers, and most of them, of course, are women. And they started coming to work in Hong Kong in the 1970s. So it's a very long history, and we owe a lot to them. They made huge contribution to Hong Kong, and also we have a similar number coming from Indonesia. And next month, there will be workers from Cambodia coming to work in Hong Kong. And there's a huge demand. So there's no doubt that these foreign domestic workers make big contribution. But I would like to hope and think that they should get a fair deal and not to be exploited and to be protected. And in Hong Kong, of course, the Hong Kong government has done something and can do more. And I have traveled here to Manila and to Jakarta in 2014 to meet with your ministers in charge. And I told them, I said, I am coming here to ask you to do more to defend the human rights of your citizens. And why did I do that? Because some of the workers who come to work in Hong Kong, they are heavily in debt. They have to pay a lot of money before they can even depart.
Indeed,
And I think that is very unfair. And in Hong Kong, of course, that should not be allowed. But Hong Kong cannot legislate to regulate the employment agencies in the Philippines or in Indonesia. We actually have a bill in the Legislative Council now to tighten up the regulation. But here, in the Philippines and in Indonesia, you should do more to ensure there's no corruption, no exploitation. So I travel here and I work with the NGOs in Hong Kong, and they tell me Hong Kong is the best, but that is not good enough. I certainly hope that your people and your government will do more. And the main thing is the agents, because some of the agents, when the workers arrive, they take away their passports, they take away their contracts, and they don't help the workers when they are in trouble.
And they connive with the agents in Hong Kong.
Yes, I think they work like this. So it is, and some people say, Emily, you cannot solve this problem. I said, well, you know, our last colonial governor, Chris Patton, he called me a headbanger. I like to bang my head against the wall on the most difficult subjects.
But when you talk to our minister, what did you resolve?
They told us the policy is zero placement fee. And we all laugh. And we all laugh. Okay, you may have that policy, but you have to enforce it. Otherwise, it is just a joke. And so I think it is very important because I guess to your country, sending these people, and not just to Hong Kong, they go all over the world to work. And sending them there, you have to give them adequate protection. You have to show that the government care about them. So I thank you for the opportunity to let me talk about it. Because last time when I came, most media people are not interested. I guess they're only interested in the money they bring back, which I find very sad. And I certainly hope that the workers will get protection, but our employers, sometimes they get very bad workers, and they are unhappy. So the system need to be tightened up and to be improved.
I have many friends who work in Hong Kong, and I know a lot of people who still would like to go to Hong Kong to work. And what advice can you give them in terms of defending or protecting their rights when they're there. What rights do they enjoy in Hong Kong?
Well, they enjoy many rights, and but of course, there's a different set of rules for foreign domestic workers because of demand by our local unions. By all means, fight for more, but they should be aware because already, I think that because they say Hong Kong is the best, I think that in many other countries that the domestic workers go to, they don't get that much protection. But whatever we're offering them, the workers should be aware. And also, over the years, I have worked with the Philippine and the Indonesian consulates. I must say the two consulates are quite good now. So they offer induction courses for new arrivals. So to tell them what their rights are, what they should do when something happens. But I think they should do them here too, before you send them overseas. You should have induction courses, not just to teach them how to do ironing and to do cooking, but to tell them their rights and also teach them how to do their work. Because some employers complain, oh, you give me the worker, it doesn't know anything. So I think there is a lot of more work that your government should do to protect them, to train them, and if things go wrong, they should know where to complain. And the Hong Kong government should have a system which gives confidence to the workers. When they complain, it will be addressed. And not that when they complain, oh, I send you home.
Yeah, at this point, what's the mechanism for that in Hong Kong?
I don't think the mechanism, the government said yes, they will address complaints, yes, and you can go to the labor tribunal or whatever. But there is a 2-week rule that if workers lose their job, some of them may be sent home within 2 weeks. So that make the workers very worried. And the government said there is discretion. They may not be sent home so quickly. So I think the system needs to be improved. But if the sending states, that is your government, if they do more to educate their workers, to make sure now if something happens, you come to the consulate, we will help you. I think the whole system will be better. And the agents, I think you need to regulate the agents. We can't regulate the agents here.
Well, the president is perceived to be supportive of the plight of overseas Filipino workers. In fact, most of the OFW workers have voted for him in the last elections. Yeah. So he's really popular among OFWs. I'm sure as we speak, there are many OFWs who are watching this. So what's your advice to them, particularly those in Hong Kong, for them to enjoy their rights
Well, I think, first of all, they should ensure they are properly trained so they can produce good and efficient service to the employers. And of course, if things do go wrong, they should complain. They can go to their consulate and they can go to the Hong Kong government. And we hope that they will get, good treatment. And I told them, I said they can come to me. But over the years, nobody has come to me. I don't know why. So they can come to me. But you talk about your president, and I'm here also because of your president jailing Senator Leila de Lima. And I hope to see her this afternoon in jail.
She just celebrated her birthday over the weekend.
But in jail.
But she's facing, of course, drug-related charges. And it caught the attention of the Council of Asian Liberals and Democrats. So what's the purpose of your
Yes, you talk about the Council of Asian Liberals and Democrats, and under this COUD organization, there's a group called the Women's Caucus. And the Women's Caucus have 3 members coming here. We arrived in Manila last night because the Women's Caucus actually had a conference in Taipei several weeks ago when we were told about the case of the senator. And I was shocked. I said, what? And I was speaking at that time. I said, how can we allow that to happen if it is so unjust and unfair? I said, we should go to Manila to visit her and try to get her out of prison. And the people said, yeah. So now we are here. And somebody actually said to me in Hong Kong, they say, oh, Emily, are you afraid? I said, what? Are you afraid that you may be arrested in the Philippines and not allowed to go back to Hong Kong?
They have not arrested any foreigners so far, but the president certainly curses those who oppose his policy, including foreign groups
maybe
and
the president will curse us, but then so what? I think in politics and in life, we should have the courage of our convictions. I speak as someone who has not been allowed to go to mainland China
Yeah.
for almost 30 years. So this is not new to me. Someone say, if you are arrested in the Philippines, they may deport you to mainland China because that's where they deport people. Some Taiwanese have been arrested and they deported them to the mainland. So anyway,
You've heard about her case,
Yeah.
of course. Can you give us a sense of how the international community, the region in particular, is taking these
think-
human rights issues?
I think within COUD, and particularly within the Women's Caucus, we are very concerned that such a popular politician and so hardworking and fighting for human rights can have such, treatment. We just find it staggering. And the fact is that, okay, if you have charges, you should go to court. But she has not been tried. And some said the charges are actually outside the jurisdiction of the courts that they were placed. And then some told us that some of the witnesses of the charge were convicted drug traffickers. And actually in jail, they told us that one person was killed in jail because he refused to testify. So all these horror stories make us just say, wow, what's happening in the Philippines? And are you a democracy? Do you have the rule of law? And you are party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So does your government respect the covenant? And does the covenant protect the rights of the Filipinos? So these are questions we want to explore. And we come, of course, to give our best wishes to the people of your country. And to, of course, and we hope to see the senator later today.
And when you see her, what would you tell her?
Well, I'll tell her that we have nothing but respect and support for her, and we hope that she will be released very soon. And I hope to take something to her. I don't know whether the prison authorities will allow us, and as a token, to show her our support and respect. And it's very sad. I hope she will be released very soon. And if that should happen, it would send a very powerful signal to the Philippines and to the international community that there is the rule of law and there is justice and respect for human rights here.
Yeah, in fact, the Philippines used to be an example of democratic processes.
People
and
power, that's
movements.
why I wear yellow.
Yeah, and they are being demonized now, especially by many of the supporters of the president, because they have dichotomized political forces here into the yellows or the liberals, and on the other hand, the supporter of the president. Just to give us an idea of who a liberal is, because in the Philippines, really, frankly, it's the political system, the party system is not really that developed. It's not even divided across along the ideological lines. So people shift from party to another party depending on the elections. But we have a liberal party here. But who is really a liberal politician or leader?
Well, I think if you are a liberal, that means you support and fight for civil liberties and the rule of law and independent judiciary. That's very important. Without the rule of law, without an independent judiciary, then how can your rights be safeguarded? And that's the irony about Hong Kong. Unlike the Philippines, we do not have democratic elections. In the Legislative Council, only half of the 70 members are elected by the people at large. The head of our executive authorities, Carrie Lam, she was chosen by 1,200 people. So we don't have democracy. But I guess we enjoy civil liberties, rights, more than some of your people here enjoy. And I think our legal system, which is of course being undermined and challenged, is still, okay. And so that's the irony. So we have no democracy, but we enjoy rights much more than many democracies in Asia or in Africa or in the Middle East. So being a liberal is someone who aspires to those values, and it's not just lip service. That's why I said we should come here, not just issue a statement. I said I will pay to come. I always put my money where my mouth is. So if you're a liberal, you say you believe in those things, then you have to come out and you may pay a price.
Yeah.
And sometimes the dictators, they know. They think many people have a price. So they will pay that price. They will buy you, buy your soul, and you will do whatever they want you.
That is not the general case in the Philippines. Even if we have the Liberal Party here, we really don't have a strong opposition at this point. It has been emasculated after the elections. Former members of the party, of course, they switched.
That's terrible.
I know, right? So you can only imagine the configuration of forces, political forces in the Philippines. So they are really marginalized at this point. But there are those who really voice out the concern. In fact, there was, as I said earlier when I introduced you, that just last Monday, for the first time, the broadest alliance of civil libertarians have gathered, composed of leftists, perhaps a few members of the Liberal Party, and other cause-oriented groups, civil rights advocates. They gathered to confront the issue. In fact, as we speak, the Supreme Court is also under attack. 25 legislators have signed a petition to impeach the Supreme Court, the chief magistrate in the Philippines. And of course, there are other threats to rights. What do you make of this? I mean, if you zoom out, this is clearly a retrogressive
Of course. But
development. Yeah.
yes, you're right. But always remember the saying, the people get the government they deserve. So do you deserve President Duterte? And he was elected. So it's not a question of us interfering in other people's affairs. But I always say issues of human rights, they transcend national boundaries. That's why there is this international covenant on civil and political rights. People should speak out. But then people of that country, they should, if they see something going in the wrong direction or going backwards, they should come out to take action. But I even support civil disobedience, you know, the umbrella occupation in Hong Kong. I took part, but I do not support violence. I never support violence. But if people want to resort to civil disobedience, they should be prepared to go to jail because you break the law. Why do you break the law? I break the law because I challenge you. And okay, the court can send me to jail, and I will use that. That's my sacrifice, but I challenge you. So it's up to the people of the Philippines, which has a glorious past. So now, if the people feel that certain things are not going in the right direction, they should come out. And if the majority refuse to come out, then you're stuck with a bad government. But people look around at the Asian, they support the Philippines. They want you to have civil liberties, they want you to have this democracy, and they want you to have a very prosperous economy. And in fact, in many respects, things are looking up. But now, if the civil liberties with all these extrajudicial killings, summary executions, that make people recoil. Oh, what's happening there?
But
Is it a good place to invest?
But the people are also coming from a different perspective. For the longest time, they have suffered under many regimes. Many of us are still poor. So they're coming from that point of view and situation. So, and they found a leader whom they think represents their will, their interest, and they can identify with him.
Yeah, I fully understand that. Actually, some young Filipino have put that to me. They say, well, you know, we have problems. I fully understand. And I think any government should address those problems so that the people will feel better, so that, you know, they can have hope for the future. But is that the right way to address those problems? You should lift people from poverty, by all means. But you should not resort to things that people regard as outside the legal and judicial system. And if people have not got proper trials, why should they be executed? It may be members of your family. If that should happen to you, what will you say? So I can understand the feeling of some Filipino who feel that they've really been hard done by. and the government should address it so that everybody can be lifted from poverty. But is that the way to do it?
Yeah. The question now is, because all these issues, human rights issues, revolve around the war on drugs, and the president would always, what's your solution then? Because he's trying to curb the problem.
I am not the world's expert on
but
how
in Hong
to
Kong,
tackle.
But in Hong Kong,
Well, of
how
course,
did
you have
deal with it?
laws to prevent drug trafficking and all that. And, but I still think there should be a legal way. And instead of just going out to kill people like that, I saw your president on television a few days ago, and he said, okay, if the police are going after some people and they try to run away, just shoot and kill them. I cannot believe they come out of the mouth of an elected president. But so it is a big problem. So why is it that there is such a huge drug problem? We should get to the bottom of it. And some people, jokingly maybe, they say, okay, he may kill people, but why doesn't he kill the big drug barons and not just kill the poor people? So it is terrible if we start talking about who to shoot just indiscriminately. It is a problem. Well, if you are in government, you are elected to solve the problem, but not to solve it in such a way that some parts of your country find so repugnant.
Let's talk about the bigger picture in the region. What does this say, well, with regard to the democratization processes in the region? In the last decades, there had been movements across Southeast Asia and Asia. The Reformasi, for instance, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, there were movements also. What's the situation of democracies in the region? Because across the world, you've seen all these strong leaders, rightists, populist leaders emerging from the political systems where they are from.
Actually, I don't think the developments are that positive. And you see strong men or strong parties dominating, and the opposition sometimes do not even, they don't have a chance to speak out, let alone to contest elections in a free and fair way. So it is very worrying, if you look at Asia. That's why I say in Hong Kong, we don't have democratic elections, but we enjoy the rights, the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly. If you look around Asia, there are many places in which people are not allowed to do it. And if they do exercise it, they end up in jail and without a fair trial. So it is very worrying. So it's all the more important for the people to be aware and to have the courage of their conviction. So if something happened that is not in the right direction, they should work with other people to try to reverse it. And of course, the dictators make you pay a very heavy price. So it is very sad. But I think that in the Philippines, we admire you people from afar with your people power demonstrations. So if something not so positive happen, we certainly hope that your people can rectify it. And because by so doing, you are also setting an example to the rest of the region to say, if something happened not too good, they can deal with it, rather than to say, it's like a domino, one falling after the other. Then it's very sad.
Because you're a member of the minority and the opposition in Hong Kong, what makes a strong and effective opposition in contexts like this, in situations like this?
Well, first of all, I think you need politicians who cannot be bought, who have ideals and principles. Because to dictators, as I said earlier, they think most people have a price. They will go in on what you want, whether it's money or women or man or whatever. They'll give you those things, they will buy you, and you will switch allegiance, and you will do what they want. Then you have no more standing, no more credibility. So what we need are people who really believe in what they're doing and will not be bought. And so that's very important. And I think these people exist. But what we should do is to educate the young people when they're young, tell them, you know, politics is not always dirty. Yesterday when I came in from the airport, the driver told me, oh, politics is very dirty, and if you swim in that dirty water, you get dirty too. And I said, hey, sir, I've been in politics for 25 years. There are politicians who are not so dirty. But politics has a bad name. Many ordinary people feel that once you're in politics, you're either corrupt or you do bad things. So we need to tell people that it's not always like that, especially young people. We have to inspire them so they want to go into politics to do the right things. And we tell them, if you don't like it, you don't go into politics, that's fine. But there will always be people in politics. If the good people don't go in, you just leave it to all the corrupt and bad people.
There are 3 young people who are imprisoned in Hong Kong because of the protest, the massive protests which were conducted a year ago. How are you defending their rights in particular? And
Well,
what does it say about young people nowadays, the millennials? Are they ready to take on the challenge?
I think they will try, and we will encourage them. But as I said, do it with non-violence. They were tried last year, and they were found guilty. They were sentenced. There was no uproar because they said there's civil disobedience. But the government thought the sentence of community service was not enough, so they appealed, which the law allowed. And then they appealed to the Court of Appeal. The court gave them a jail sentence. So the people say, oh, how come? And so we marched. There were quite a number of people who marched last Sunday. So people came out to support the young people. But we all knew they resorted to civil disobedience. I did so too. If the government arrested me, I would plead guilty in court. Yes, I did break the law. Why? Because I challenged you. And the court said, okay, you go to jail. Fine, I will go to jail. But in this case, it was the sentencing which made people angry because they had served the community service sentence, which the government thought was too light, and they appealed. So, but we want to show the young people, A, I still have confidence in the judiciary, although there is a lot of pressure from Beijing.
Yeah.
But we still think our judges do not receive orders from Beijing. But Beijing, of course, is coming in quite heavily on all of us, including the young people, and that is a test. But still, I don't think we have extrajudicial killings and all that like in the Philippines. And so we are being tested too.
The irony here is that we enjoy many freedoms here on paper and in reality, but human rights movement in the country has not really taken off. It's not really as strong as people expect it to be. And in the midst of these issues that we're facing, you still have a popular president, big support for the war on drugs. How can you tell a person to appreciate human rights and defend it, like how human rights defenders like you do, to make them value human rights
That's why,
better?
to go back to the point, if the people live in poverty, they are very unhappy. They hope the government will do something to address it. Okay, they may do something that others oppose, but for some, they say, yeah, they are helping to solve the problem. So you have to explain to the people why what the way of doing it should not be supported, but something should be done to tackle the problem. And in this process, the media, they are very important. If the media just ignore all the opposition voices, just allow the government to have his say and to curse people he doesn't like, then it's very difficult. So the freedom that people enjoy, one of the key freedom is the freedom of expression and press freedom. If the press is not free, then it's a big problem because most people get their information from the media. Although now you have the social media, but still the mainstream media, very important because I'm not saying they should be on one side. They should be independent and fair. But if they are intimidated, they dare not report one side, then the people get very lopsided information.
But the problem, perhaps to wrap up this discussion, it's good that you pointed out the social media environment, because it's pretty toxic here, perhaps in other parts of the world. You have supporters of the president or even activists and other ordinary netizens clashing online. It's really a battleground now with a huge chunk of the population really fiercely defending the administration despite the alleged human rights violations. How do you find this space? How do you set the tone of the discourse, the democratic
I
discourse
think
online?
at the end of the day, what we need is a population that is educated and fair. So if people are not educated, they're very ignorant, they are very prejudiced, then it is very toxic and terrible. So what we need is to make the people wise and, and to be fair. I mean, it's possible that we have opposing political views. That's okay. That's what democracy is about. It's about dissent. It's about debate, about argument. But at the end of the day, we try to reach a consensus. And even those who disagree with it, they will try to live with it. That's what it's about. But in the process, you should have people who use their heads and not just use their emotion. So that is something we need to cultivate.
Okay. Emily, as your parting shot, what will you tell the president
Well,
if he listens to our
I hope the
conversation?
president will respect the rule of law and human rights and ensure that the Filipino people will have their rights protected. If there is any accusation or even prosecution, they should be brought to court. But with Senator De Lima, she's a people's representative, and she cannot be in Congress to represent her people. And her supporters said the charges are bogus and not fair. So why don't we test them in court? And we hope the judges are independent and fair-minded, rather than to just lock her up. I mean, to us in Hong Kong or in Asia and elsewhere, we find this very, very intriguing. And that, of course, brings a bad name to the Philippines.
On that note, thank you for talking to us. We've been speaking to Emily Lau of the Council of Asian Liberals and Democrats and a former member of the Hong Kong Legislative Council. Thank you for joining us. I'm Walter Tupas. Thank you.